Hello guys, Joy here. Today I want to talk to you about Linux. Let's dive into the video. Okay, first let's start with the Linux brief history. So, Linux was invented in 1991 by Linus Torvalds. He created Linux because he couldn't afford to buy a Unix system, and then he made his own Unix-like system that eventually called Linux. And then, how actually Linux gained its popularity? Well, Linux is known by a lot of people because Linus Torvalds released the Linux project in the internet. Because of this, Linux project success to attract many contributors over the world and willingly working in this project. And today, Linux is the biggest open source project that's used by a lot of big companies such as Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and IBM. Okay then, let's talk about next topic in Linux, the Linux desktop. Unlike its counterpart, Linux server that powered many websites and products over the internet, Linux desktop not really gaining its popularity. By the way, the right way to say Linux desktop is GNU/Linux because Linux desktop is a collaboration between GNU system and the Linux kernel. Okay, back to the topic. There are several reasons why Linux desktop not adopted by people. First, Linux desktop doesn't have marketing power. Unlike Microsoft that promotes the Windows OS and Apple who create Mac OS and ship it in their product such as MacBook, Linux doesn't have that power. Although Linux is used by a lot of big companies, that company just see Linux as a free product to make their own product on top of it. For example, Google who built Android with a Linux kernel. Second, many people see Linux desktop as a complicated system. This is because many misconceptions about Linux in the internet. People start saying Linux as a hacker system or something along that lines. That made Linux desktop adoption not happening. Third, because Linux desktop is unfamiliar and hard for somebody to switch to something that's unfamiliar. Many people learn computer either in Windows machine or Mac machine, so it's unlikely for somebody who already learned their computer to switch to something that they doesn't familiar with. Fourth, because Linux desktop has less application than other operating systems. You won't find something like Microsoft Word or Adobe Creative Suite in Linux. So, if people's jobs depends on those tools, that's unlikely for people to sacrifice their productivity over Linux. And why I'm still using Linux desktop today? Well, as a Linux desktop user myself, I would say Linux desktop is the best operating system. I have 4 main reasons for that. First, it's free as a freedom and free as a free drink. Second, because Linux desktop customizable. You pretty much can build your own Linux as you wish. You can customize your Linux like this, or even like this. Third, because Linux has a better way to install and update your program. In Linux, all of your program or even the system updates are managed in one place, so you doesn't need to jump all over the place to update all of your application. And you can install the app with graphical user interface or even without it. And last obvious reason, because Linux is secure operating system. The Linux security is patched every day by contributors. So when there's a vulnerable that's found in Linux, it's quickly patched by the contributor. And Linux also not the target of virus because majority people run Windows in their machine. Well, allow me to end this video with a quote. What's best for you does not mean it's best for the other. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye bye.